very good morning to you. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. We come to you live from the Nile Avenue every single day. It's such a pleasure to serve Uganda and inspire Uganda as the vision is. If you started the show with us, thank you so much. And if you're just joining in, you're welcome. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Julie F. Nantaba. Now, this morning, we are having a conversation on all matters refugees. And be part of this conversation, 0709-602-592. Now, as of late 2025, talking into August to October, Uganda hosts 1.8 to 1.9 million refugees and asylum seekers, making it the largest refugee hosting country in Africa. Women and children take 80% of the refugee population. Now, this morning, let us throw a light on transforming refugee livelihoods, an insight from Makerere University's research on what is called the REAL project. In studio with me is Miss Nakato Farida, who is the Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability and Learning Officer from ADRA Uganda, that is leading the REAL project, and Mr. Swadik Yasin, who is a research assistant from Makerere University. Join the show and let's have a conversation. Share your opinion, ask your question, 0709-602-592. My immediate neighbor is Mr. Swadik Yasin. Good morning.
Yes, morning.
A pleasure having you this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
And his immediate neighbor is Miss Nakato Farida. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
A pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you.
And I will stay with you, Miss Nakato. What exactly is the REAL project? Throw more light, elaborate, and give us a preamble to this.
Yeah, so the REAL project is in full is called the Resilience Enhancement for Adapting to Sustainable Livelihoods. And it's being implemented in Chaka and Ramanja refugee settlements, where we're targeting 5,880 refugees and 2,052 host communities. Of course, this is with their families, but the direct population we're targeting is 2,100 refugees and host communities. The REAL project is currently working with 70 groups, that is 35 in both Chaka and Ramanja, 35 for Chaka and 35 for Ramanja. So with our overall goal, we want to see that there is an documented increase in food security and resilience among the refugees and host communities we serve. And with that, the key components we are looking at under our REAL project is to see that there is increased quantity, quality, and diversity of food among our refugees. And that's why you see some of the components we've been doing research with Makerere University about the climate smart agronomic practices which the refugees can adapt to actually see that there is an increased quantity and quality and production of food for their food security at home, but also for their livelihoods. And then we ran a simple component about another component about them actually doing the farming as a business. Yeah, and in that we train them on the farmer market schools approach. Yeah, where we want them to actually view farming from the subsistence to actually run it as a commercial farming, still to enhance their livelihood so that we contribute to the resilience we want to see among the refugees and host communities we serve. And we have another component where we do support them in the village savings and loan associations. And those are the 70 VSLAs we have in both the settlements. And with this, we do trainings on financial literacy, on the VSLA methodologies. We've linked them with the financial service providers so that we see that this VSLA is a boost still to where they can get some loans to invest in their agriculture business or other small-scale businesses. Yeah, and the last component is cross-cutting, gender. We want to see women very well represented in the livelihood chain, but also the agriculture chain. We feel like most times they've been left out. Yeah, they've been left out in the agriculture value chain. They do put in a lot of work, but they've been their voice has been low. So we want to see women actually also participate, equal participation in the decision making, in the planning, but also being part of these financial gains that come from the farming. And that's why we've come up with the very other component of research with Makerere University. And they're doing the research on the climate smart agronomic practices where the refugees can adapt according to their land and textures to increase their production, but also under farmer market schools approach, how it can enhance the farming as a business. And and the last component is, as I said, this is an integrated approach between the farming agronomic practices and the farmer market school approach. Yes.
A very elaborate and profound picture and preamble that you give us, which indeed I thank you very much for. You used the term VSL. What does it mean?
The VSL, we have the VSLA, that is the Village Savings and Loan Association, and then the Village Savings and Loan Federations.
Oh,
yes.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, let me come over to you, Mr. Swadik. What are the most surprising synergies that you've discovered when VSLA's, farmer market schools, climate smart agriculture work together in a refugee context?
The most surprising synergy that I found in the refugee settlement is that when the refugees go to the farmer market schools, they get to learn about the climate smart agricultural practices. And then with this, in turn, they go and then they implement the practices, and then they produce a lot of food in which they also sell. And with these sales, they are able to save in their VSLs, and then also get some kind of small loans to be able to invest back into the production. So that is the kind of relationship that I found surprising when we tried to unlock through research into the settlement. Yeah.
Thank you very much. In case you're just joining in, we're looking at matters refugees, and in particular transforming refugee livelihoods, where the conversation stems from. It comes from a research and insights from Makerere University's research on the REAL project, whose preamble has been given by Ms. Nakato Farida, one where a lot of discoveries have been made. Share your question and opinion, 0709-602-592. Now, Ms. Nakato, the REAL project has achieved about an 80% increase in village and savings loan associations. And of course, that is to 480 million shillings, and grown the loan portfolio to 330 million. What does this tell you about the trust refugees and host communities now have in saving and investing together?
Yes, thank you very much. With this, about the trusts and savings that the host communities and refugees have together, as I mentioned, that we've seen the loan portfolio go to 330 million. Many of now the hosts and refugees, they've trusted that actually the VSLA works, and they can access loans which they can use for their investments and put into productive assets. And that's why you see the growth in the savings, that all the monies initially they were saving to just share out at the end of the year and maybe eat meat or buy meat. But now the mindset has shifted that we can actually get money to invest into our small-scale business, and that way we can repay back or expand our farming, hire more land, buy some of these drought-tolerant varieties or hybrid varieties, and we see an increase in production and also sales, and that's why we see that it has scaled and grown. It has given me more trust that this actually works. Yes.
Yeah, that's very profound.
Yeah.
Very, very profound. And ultimately also paints a very good picture for Uganda as a nation. Coming over to you, Mr. Swadik, with the areas that were used for this research, that is Chaka and Ramwanja. What are some of those things you've noticed that show how resilient the livelihoods and host communities are?
Well, on that particular aspect, when we observe Chaka and Ramwanja, Chaka, okay, in general, there's some bit of improvement in resilience, in the both settlements. But then Ramwanja is slightly better in resilience based on the production of crops, because their terrain is good and the soils are good, unlike in Chaka, where we observe that the soils are rocky and then most times they don't retain a lot of water for production. So they have that bit of challenge, the other side. So with that, it makes the Ramwanja a little bit ahead of Chaka in terms of resilience. So we are trying to see how Chaka still can be able to reach that standard through the climate smart agricultural practices that we're implementing, to see if we can bring all the practices together to see how they can be able to produce and also reach at least the state of Ramwanja, such that the two settlements are at the same level.
All right.
Yeah.
Very profound. Coming over to you, Ms. Nakato, what are some of those success stories that you pride in, that the real project has improved livelihoods of communities?
Yeah, so one of the success stories I can ably mention, we have one of our farmers in Ramwanja, and just in this span of almost 1.5 years, he has managed to invest into his poultry business and ran like he breeds poultry. It's called Robert. He breeds poultry and ran like 5 cycles of poultry. And from this poultry business, he's been able to actually buy a motorbike, which is helping him in his banana plantation. All this has been with access to, we've done a lot of exchange learning visits and exposure visits, so how other farmers are doing it, and he has learned and copied and replicated that. But also from now buying a bike, which is very important, he's been able to actually buy himself a house for his children and wife, which is another success story, that all this income he has generated from the trainings, from the access to the inputs where Ruel has contributed to the group farming. He's been able to grow with this knowledge and being able to support his family.
Right.
Yes.
A comment comes in for you, Ms. Nakato. Good morning, Uganda. Good morning, UBC. Thank you for today's discussion on transforming refugee livelihoods. I'm proud to see Ms. Nakato Farida, my OG from Makerere University, sharing such thoughtful insights. One key area I believe can further improve refugee livelihoods is strengthening skills training programs that link refugees directly to market opportunities. Thank you for continuously highlighting impactful work happening in our country. Kawoya Alex, born to win, from Green Pasture, Bombo, Luwedo. Thank you so much, Kawoya Alex, for being on the show. Now, let me come back to you, Mr. Sadiq. What makes you optimistic or concerned about the long-term sustainability of VSLAs and their groups, of course, and climate smart farming practices once ADRA's report ends in 2026?
Okay, well, what makes me optimistic is that when I look at the VSLAs, the 70 groups that were evaluated, at least there's some bit of a structure which is built within the VSLA. Like they have that kind of leadership which is having the head and then the secretaries, and then they have a clear guidance on how to run the small VSLAs. So this, in long run, after the project has closed, I think it will be sustainable. And then with the climate smart agricultural practices, they're adapting very well. So they're already picking up with this if they continue to use it. And I think they're going to improve their production in terms of the crops which we identified and we supported, we evaluated there. So they will be able to sustainable continue after the project. And then my concern is that in this group dynamics, the leadership struggles might, in the long run, affect also how effective these VSLs can be operated. And then these groups in the settlements, because the refugee community, their access to resources and is still limited, and especially those improved seeds, fertilizers, and also the costings. So they still don't have a lot more idea about where to get this. So if service providers like the agro input dealers, if they take these things closer to the refugee communities, I think it will be able to support them in the long run.
All right.
Yeah.
Indeed, you raise very important issues there, and I'll pose it now to Ms. Nakato. Some of these challenges have been raised by Mr. Swadik, but you being active with these communities, I believe you realize more challenges, but also what solutions do you have in mind to overcome some of these challenges?
Thank you very much. So among the challenges we have, as a real, he mentioned about the input dealers. We have had still in the project discussion with some of the input dealers to actually access some of these farm inputs closer to the refugee communities. Of course, there are some that are still not there, but at least I know we have moved a milestone to see that the inputs, most especially to the seed varieties, those are seed varieties which are majorly being used, had these open discussions with some of these market, the input dealers, that you can have this in markets, but also maybe work with the extension workers how to access that. So we've left a structure in place where we have extension workers, that is, we work very much closely with the districts and local governments, who are still going to continue to support the refugees to access the services, but also we have our field agents who are part of the refugee groups and have been trained and also access that in any support that the refugee groups need, they're able to reach out to them, but also the services that can be extended to them near. Yeah, and I think the other challenge he mentioned was about the power struggles. In the real, we have done a lot of trainings on group dynamics. So still we believe that our groups have now grown strong. They're in position to, because they have constitutions, these are bylaws that guide the VSLs and groups, they're in position to actually know that we go by the constitution. If we need to change our term of offices for the leadership, this is 3 years, and they've learned that. Initially it was not there, but they've learned that, and that's how we've also seen a growth in the VSLA savings because of the strengthening in the leadership. They've been able to change the leadership. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Now, Mr. Swadik, in your research, did you uncover any differences in how the different refugees, especially from both of these camps, that is Ramwanja and Chaka, did you notice any differences on how they adopted or benefited from the real project?
In general, the refugees, okay, I did not look at so much at the individual differences, but then what I've learned, and I've also tried to do some small survey to move around and see what climate smart agricultural practices which I implemented the other side, whether they are taking it up. I found that at least the groups that I met, though not a big percentage as such, but they showed some kind of adaptability to the knowledge that I gave them. So with this, I believe everyone trained is practicing. So in both settlements, and still we are continuing with the trainings on the refugees, for the refugees on the climate smart, and I also encourage them most times to give me their challenges, which I also tend to address most of the times. So that individual difference in the research we did not uncover, but then we look at the general picture on how the refugees can be helped, such that they attain their resilience. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching the show. We are looking at transforming the livelihoods of refugees, and insight is being thrown on the Makerere University's research on the REAL project. Thank you for bringing up the guests. I'm thrilled about the success stories about the REAL project and research. What special thing is about the project that could be replicated in other settlements or areas with similar context? Thank you, ADRA and Makerere University. I think I'll pose this to you, Ms. Nakato.
Yeah, I want to say what I think I like what he has asked, what special thing can be replicated in other projects. The REAL project is a project that has been working with an integrated approach. With the livelihood interventions, normally we've seen that some of them have been independent, either looking at production or CSA only, but the REAL project has actually done an integration that livelihood in terms of production for farmers works hand in hand with also the village savings and loan federations. So the key learning is that all these components have to come together. We have to have the VSLA working hand in hand in terms of production, because they need money from the VSLA or the savings they've gotten from their production to actually invest to save from the VSLA. But also if they need, farmers need to expand their farming business, they're able to have a buffer, which is a VSLA, to actually access the loans. But also the farmer market school approach is something that is so much we can replicate to other settlements. It looks at a farmer actually producing for the market. That initially farmers are just producing for food or home, but here you actually have to do a market analysis and purposively do research on the market to produce for the market. And that's why you can see a farmer being able to gain that if I know in this market the tomatoes will work well, then I should be able to produce the tomatoes only. And so that can work well for me. But also looking at the seasonal calendar and all these other factors, and I think the other thing the FMS has really taught the farmers is the market linkages. I think one of the viewers mentioned about it. Very, very much important that farmers are now trained that they can actually access this market on their own without the broker, because the broker has been taking a lot of the profit from the farmer. Right. The farmer gets less. So all these are approaches which you have to combine together to integrate if you want to see a successful livelihood intervention or resilience. They don't work, one cannot work without the other. Yes. Very well, thank you.
Now this conversation has to come to its end, and we're starting to roll the carpet out. I'll come to you, Mr. Swadik, as your parting shot. So what key lessons have you learned from the REAL project? And of course, other refugee hosting countries should take forward on. But also, what is the most important message you want policymakers to receive from your research?
One of the key lessons that I've learned is use of the integrated approach in trying to build the resilience. So if we look at all the three components together, we can be able to build the resilience among the host and the refugee communities in the settlement area. So I will state it clearly to the other countries hosting refugees. If we use the integrated approach, we can be able to build the resilience among the refugee communities in the settlement areas. And to the policymakers, clearly, I will state that these refugees, they are not like passive beneficiaries as such, but if they are provided and guided with the enabling environment, which has the right skills, knowledge, and some sort of tools which they can use, they can be able to build some resilience. So with this REAL project, we just uncover what we can do, where we can also scale it up, possibly, to see if other areas can also benefit from such initiatives, especially the climate smart, and then the VSLAs, and then the farmer market schools can be brought together to improve resilience of the refugee communities.
Thank you very much. Now, I will ask this as your parting shot, Ms. Nakato. If any other, say, Danida came up as a funder for the real project, what would you do different?
We want to actually scale to value chain development. And one of the components we didn't, because it was a short time frame, we didn't really explore is the market linkages a lot, market analysis to the farmers. So that's what we want to scale into if the real project for any other funder who is interested to scale it up. But also, as I said, we only targeted 5,000 refugees. The direct one at 2,000, and we work with over, in Chaka alone is over 136,000 refugees. So we'd want to scale it up to other refugees to actually also benefit. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. We've been looking at transforming refugee livelihoods in Uganda, and insights from the Makerere University's research on the real project. Having this conversation with us has been Ms. Nakato Farida, who is the Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability and Learning Officer for ADRA Uganda, that is spearheading the real project, and Mr. Swadiki Yasin, who is a Research Assistant at Makerere University. Thank you so much for being on the show and for watching, as well as sharing your opinion and questions. Up next is JMU Tourism Express. We do have business. The agenda will come a little later, and of course, sports with Ruben. So stay tuned. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Weight loss starts now.